BRB Blazer.
Yeah. Guys, so you got Devin Funchess. You probably forgot about Funchess because he got hurt in the first game. I think it was the first game of the year. He was with the Colts, former Panther. Broke his collarbone, pretty much out for the entire year. Actually, he was out for the entire year. Signs a 1-year prove-it deal with the Packers. This is just kind of interesting for me because, I know you've done the research on this, Anthony, but, we've noticed that, Aaron Rodgers can support 2 top 20. He's even done it a couple times where I think he's supported, 2 top 10, top 12 wide receivers, back in the day with Jordy Nelson and Devontae Adams. So, obviously Devontae Adams, he's a top 3, wide receiver. But do you think Funchess could be that number 2? We kind of wanted MVS to be this guy. He just kind of isn't it. He's kind of like a speedster kind of guy. We got, other guys like Kumaro and Lazard and I don't know, just all these other guys that just haven't really emerged. So obviously they go out and they get Funchess, big body guy. No more Jimmy Graham there either. So I know he wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but obviously taking some targets, some red zone targets and whatnot.
God damn, that guy was open.
What do you feel about Funchess here? They do have the 19th overall pick, the Packers. So there's a good possibility that they pick a wide receiver in the first round or even the second round.
This is I will say this is supposed to be a pretty heavy wide receiver draft class. So they're comparing it, even saying it could be the same year as Odell Beckham's draft class, which was a shit ton of receivers. So I think with that, yeah, I think you're right. I think they will end up drafting a wide receiver pretty early in the draft, and so I'm not even really kind of looking at this Devin Funchess. It seems like it's a filler role. It was what's his name, who we signed last year and dropped him really fast in Pittsburgh.
I know you're talking about. I can't remember
from the Jaguars.
Dante Moncrief.
Yeah.
Moncrief?
Yeah, it's I feel like it's very similar to that kind of signing where
they paid him scraps. It was $2.5 million.
Yeah, prove it deal.
scraps. It's so funny to say that.
Hey, I'll play. I'll be a body. Cut me.
True.
I'll take my preseason paychecks.
Yeah.
Hey, Loki, I'm trying to try out for the XFL when it comes back.
Hey.
Special teamer.
Yeah.
Hey, honestly,
Give me screaming out there.
bro, you should. How much do they pay you?
Full speed.
50K?
I'm dropping the hips and I'm just fucking blasting through. If I hit him, the dude's going down.
Dude,
if I
I'm
miss,
trying to
I'm
be
flying 10 yards.
Oh, they don't really have kickers, huh? Because they don't really have PATs, huh?
Oh yeah, huh? I'm going Canadian.
Yeah, I don't know.
Canadian, eh?
But yeah, I kind of think it's just a body move.
Yeah.
And then even so, let's just bring up the point that you talked about. Let's kind of take Devin Funchess out of this. The wide receiver 2 situation in Green Bay, I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. Because that was the Mike McCarthy. That was a coach before, right?
Yeah.
I have Alzheimer's when it comes to coaches. Mike McCarthy era. That was the Mike McCarthy era where he was always carrying those guys. Now you have Peter LaFleur. LaFleur is the new coach there. So the system's changed. This is an hour and a half ago of research as well too. But it was that the Packers were always for years, they were a bottom 5 rushing team. They were 32nd, 27th. 31st. So they were a very pass-heavy offense. Now they were a lot more balanced last year.
Yeah.
They were in the middle. Not only that said is I took 3-4 years of data. The receivers were receiving about 370, 400. A lot more targets were going to the receiver position. Last year it was down to about 300. And the position that went up was the running back position. So now we have an offense that's more balanced from run to pass. We have an offense that's throwing to the running backs a lot more. Only one game did a receiver outside of Devontae Adams see 10 targets. So I just don't even know if that's a thing anymore. And then their system worked last year. They were 12-4.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to change too much. So I'm kind of pessimistic on the wide receiver 2 role versus where that was always a value target where you'd take that wide receiver 2 and they were always good. So
yeah.
Just that spot in general, it might be something where I might just not be too big on it where, in the years prior, I was always big on that wide receiver 2 in Green Bay.
Yeah. For me, it's just it all comes down to if they draft a receiver. If they take a receiver in the first 2 rounds, obviously that just makes that, you're saying they're not throwing as much. It just makes it a lot less to go around. And we already know that, Devontae Adams probably gets one of the biggest target shares in the entire NFL. But if they don't take a receiver, then I'm not mad at it. He's a big body guy. Like I said, no more Jimmy Graham. It just kind of depends on the draft. And it's kind of hard to dictate some of these things, with the draft not here yet. So. I'm not mad at it, though. I think, if anything, it just helps Aaron Rodgers, at least another weapon for him, too. Because, Aaron Rodgers had that down year last year. How many games? I think we did it. He had that one game where he had 50 points, but Outside of that, he was averaging like
It was pretty bad.
14, 15 points per game, which wasn't very good for what you probably paid for Aaron Rodgers.
Did he
last
look the
year,
same
so.
to you guys last year? Because he didn't to me.
No.
Who, Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
No.
I've watched a lot of. I'm not a diehard Packers fan, but like I've watched a lot of Aaron Rodgers because he's on prime time and he's playoffs and like he like I don't know. It just he didn't look the same.
You know what? I think it is I think Aaron Rodgers when he had Mike McCarthy, he was very much overused. So it's like this past year, they're actually fucking running the ball more. They're actually doing like using their running backs, like using their backfield, which I feel like Mike McCarthy just kind of relied on him to win every game. Like,
Yeah.
oh no, even if we're down in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes left, Aaron Rodgers is gonna fucking perfectly like drop a dime to Devontae Adams to win the game. You know what I mean? So I think because of that, we're starting to see a different part of Aaron Rodgers. But you might be noticing something that I'm not, like more like mechanically with him that I probably couldn't be able to tell.
It was kind of a little bit slower with his pocket presence. His rushing yards were down too. I was actually looking at that. He was missing some uncharacteristic throws where it's like they were like off by like a good amount, and I was like, I know there was like some tough defenses sometimes, but these throws were just they weren't Aaron Rodgers throws.
Yeah.
Like it's like last year I used to debate people. I'd be like, if Rodgers was on the Patriots, you know, he would have been like better than Brady and this and that in the system. But like the Rodgers of last year, like I couldn't say the same about that quarterback. Like I said, I could be wrong on this. I don't watch him every game, but he just looked a little different last year. And maybe it was just a fluke year. But like I said, to me, I just noticed the games I watched him, it didn't look like the same Rodgers.
Yeah,
For sure.
I mean it's definitely not the same.
Didn't look like
if
that
you
guy.
look at the stats too.
It's because he doesn't have a stash, dude.
I was gonna say, I was like, you think if we showed him our stashes, he'd come on the
Oh,
podcast?
I said
Hey, bro.
stats. I didn't say
yeah, but
stash.
maybe that's why he didn't do good last year because he didn't have the stash.
That's what it
Maybe.
is. No, 100%.
Bro, you see Minshew
Bro, there's a study that came out.
stash.
Yeah.
Ew, fucking story
Just saying,
tell
dude,
you.
I'm not a fucking doctor, but I'm just saying.
Here's the thing.
Following the trends.
The story tell you, bro.